Hey, it's your boy Sergeant Hooked on Heroes. Been a little bit since I've been recording and stuff like that. Been very busy with family and everything, and holiday weekend stuff like that. Sorry, I'm just gonna zhuzh my hair a little bit there. Ooh, it looks pretty goofy. Anyway, but we're back. We're back, baby. So here we go with Kamen Rider Geats episode 37 review recap. Oh my god, let's go. This was an overall pretty awesome episode. It continues like most of them, which is really saying something. To deepen the lore, add more to the story, add more little layers and dips and folds and stuff to it, wrinkles, if you will. And I really appreciate them for that. It's really been a long time since we've gotten a Rider series like Geats, where every episode feels extremely important, and that if you missed it, you should definitely go back and watch the previous one. I really mean that. There was a lot of times in Revice where basically if you watch the second part of each of the little 2-episode arcs or whatever, you'd be fine. You've got nothing in the first episode. So there's a bunch of wasted space time for stuff for characters and plot development, stuff like that. But not in Geats. So episode kicks off where we ended last week with Jean approaching Baraba and Kikra, telling them about the Grand End, and that if they don't leave, that they'll be destroyed. If they don't leave with everybody else through the fourth dimensional portal, they'll be killed alongside everyone else from the future, right? And people here are going to lose their memories, and so they excuse me about that. They end up believing them, yes, but then decide to take the vision drivers that they have and go visit Mitsume for one last wish. We don't see what it is. I think somebody paused it and tried to translate it out, and it was something about existing in this world even after the Grand End or something like that. And somehow Mitsume grants it. I don't know. Whatever their wish is, it does get granted. And just after this, we do get some more stuff with Niram and Tsururu and, what their plans are and everything. Talking to Sumari, talking about how, they're going to be leaving and blah, blah, blah. And she's eventually with Punk Jack in the one, library type, database area for trying to figure out more about Ace. And he does figure something more out. That Ace's father was one of the first contestants in the DGP. And that him and Mitsume had fallen in love. They had a forbidden love that was not accepted by anybody. Very similar to what we have going on with at least Jeremy's parents in King Oger. And Sumuri even says, well, how did she have a baby? We're not in the future. We don't have the faculties to allow that anymore. Like, essentially, new babies aren't born naturally through, reproduction. They, I'm guessing they're just created somehow in the future. She doesn't really tell anything, but she just says it shouldn't be possible. And so, essentially, we find out that just like Sumuri wished and prayed hard enough and then brought back Geats recently, same thing. Mitsume prayed and wished hard enough that she could have a child with Ace's father. And a miracle was performed, and they were able to somehow make the baby. I don't know if it means they were able to consummate their, relationship and, actually do it the normal old-fashioned way, or if, they already had and then it just got her pregnant. I don't know, but that's what happened. So he does have a dad, and that's what ends up happening. And so he learns more about that, and that right after that, once they saw that she was capable of doing that, is when the DGP took control of her to make her forcibly into the Desire Goddess, utilizing her power and forcibly controlling her to grant the wishes of any contestant going forward. So it's pretty fucked up when you think about it. This poor girl who figures out she has this world-changing ability to herself is instantly kidnapped, taken advantage of, held prisoner, and forced to use her power for everyone else to be happy but her. So it's pretty fucked up and pretty sad, but I really enjoyed the more of the confirmation stuff here, especially showing to Ace eventually, who was able to get in there eventually because Niram wants Jean to go to Baraba and kick her out and get the vision drivers back. He gets one of them back, brings them back, or both of them back, I think actually. They give them both to him. And he gives one to Niram like normal, and then he's like, what about the other one? And he goes, oh, well, I think I'll give it to him. And he tosses it. And Ace comes up and grabs it. They're in that one little nebulous in-between space that the supporters usually go for during the matches in the DGP. And he tells him that, he says basically you shouldn't really. He's like, I support a fox. I support Geats, and you're surprised that I tricked you? Does the little fox thing. I thought that was cool. I like that Jean kind of double-crossed him to get in there and get the vision driver so that Ace can go and figure out what's going on. So Ace and Niram go, and Ace gets it confirmed to him that Mitsume really is innocent, that she is not the cause of all this. She's been forced and controlled to do so, but that her power is fading. They see these chains wrapped around her and like constricting her and breaking the pieces of stone off, and she's pretty much dying. And Sudaru, pretty much confirms this to Ace, that your mother is a tool, that we used her ever since, she, wished so long ago to have a child. We forced her into becoming the Desire Goddess and used her power for our own ends, blah, blah, blah. So, again, it's just more confirmation of what we've already learned. You can see the rage building up in Ace, which is really interesting with Ace because, as opposed to many main riders, he's usually not an angry kind of person. We've seen this before with Ikki, where he'll get angry here and there. Toma did it. Aruto would do it here and there. But we don't really get to see it that much with Ace. And when we do, shit goes down. Like in the one episode where Neon's whole secret was revealed, and he took down the Jamato that was going after her and everything. So he's clearly pissed. Is it this episode where he... Yeah, it would have to be, I think. Yeah. This is also this episode where Michinaga decides to just take out the rest of the people that are still competing. He ends up beating both Nago and Sarah and crushing their cores, thereby retiring them, and they can no longer be riders again. Wink, wink. Things are going to be changing. I'll get there in a minute. And this just sets Keiwa into bloodlust mode. So he goes after Michinaga, trying to fight him, of course, in vain, because he has the power to defeat all riders. And he's getting his ass beat. He gets his core pulled out, but as he's about to crush it, here comes Geats. Actually, a Punk Jack to save the day. And gets into the competition. They realize that Sarah and Michinaga had the same amount of ID cores, and that clearly whoever wins is going to, get the power to retire somebody that's playing. But we also get it revealed, and Punk Jack tells everybody about this. None of you are getting your wish. They lied to you. They said they were going to give you your wish, but her power is fading, and they're trying to leave this world. So none of you guys are fighting for nothing. So even for less than nothing than it was before, which most of the characters left knew about the whole thing, where to create a DGP wish, it was taking away this. It was feeding on the energy of sadness or despair from other people. And so he brings everybody together, Michinaga, Keiwa, and Ace, and most of the main characters together to talk about what's going on, what he found out about Ace's parents and everything going on there. And so he gets to tell everybody everything that's happening. And he's like, and Michinaga, it's a big revelation from Michinaga. Michinaga essentially goes, okay, so I guess the DGP is awful, not only because of what they do and my reasoning mainly there that I want to stop them, but because they are literally holding Ace's mother hostage and forcing her to use her power to create these wishes and do these different things for the DGP. And Keiwa, before this, had a whole thing talking about he'll never forgive Mitsume, and that it's her fault for all the misery and blah blah blah, having no idea she had no control over it, that she was being forced to do what she was doing. And even when he gets this information, he still isn't 100% behind it, which does make sense to me. I saw some people getting upset online about it, but it doesn't really bother me. I think it makes sense because Keiwa's always been he's a trusting person, but when he knows something is wrong or something amiss or something is just not right, he doesn't let it go. And I think that he knows that this is true, but he also wants to know more about it. So it comes off as him, being a dick about it, even though he knows Mitsume is completely innocent. So right after this, Geats and Niram are fighting. So Gazer and Laser Boost Mark II. Boom, boom, boom. DBZ has fight all over the place. He gets knocked out of transformation because he's angry and he's despairing about his mom and whatever. And eventually he looks up and he sees the goddess of creation, the Desire Goddess's statue cracking and pieces falling. And he's like, Ma, Otosa! Okasa, whatever mother is in Japanese. Anyway, and he runs towards her, and she lets out another, cry. And also before this is interesting, Sudaru, when they were in the one negative space where the, Mitsume was, the Desire Goddess was, he tries to put right down a wish of a world without Ace, and it doesn't work. So Ace runs towards the statue, of course, to get his ass beat by Niram still, and a piece of it falls to him. He grabs it and, screams in despair over what's going on, that his mother is dying right in front of him before he just found her, and before he had a chance to even save her. And it turns into the Boost Mark III buckle. He slaps it on and transforms, and we get Boost Mark III henshin right near the end. Seems to be very much a berserker form, because Gazer sends one of his little, like, camera orb things at him, and he swipes it with one of the tails, and it just like folds in itself and out of reality. So I'm guessing he has some kind of desire god ability to himself, especially because the rules come up, like the DGP rules that they always do. The rules come up for this episode talking about that, the DGP are the sole owners and proprietors of all rider technology. There are no exceptions. And right where it says there are no exceptions, a foxtail comes out and whips it with flames and gets rid of that part. So yeah, I really liked this episode. There was a lot of really good revelations. Pretty much everybody is on the same page as far as knowing what's going on and being fully aware of the stakes and the ramifications of everything. I think it was a particularly good, excuse me, Ace episode, and a particularly good Kawa episode, in my opinion. Everyone else shined pretty decent as well. I just got tired of seeing Buffa again, taking out the other riders. And he throughout it is explaining himself that, forget you were ever a rider, let me defeat you, destroy your core, and you'll forget you were ever a rider, and you can throw all of this misery and everything behind you. And he's kind of right. They've all been through a lot of shit. But then at the same time, you kind of understand Kawa and his want to, bring everybody back, and thereby kind of bringing a bit of a sense of peace around them and their world, if you will, overall. So again, a really good job of kind of honing in on and kind of polishing up the perspectives of the different characters and their ideals and morals. I love Ace losing control near the end and that activating the rubble, turning into the Boost Mark III buckle, which will eventually become the Geats 9 buckle. Once you take a piece off, put it on the other side, and then you turn the handle. That's when it flips down the little fox thing. The Bandai Mania video is up. If you guys want to see how the Geats Mark 9, buckle thing works, you're more than welcome to look that up and check that out. I already have mine pre-ordered, and I think it's supposed to be, it's within June release, so I'm guessing next week or the week after. As soon as I do, it's definitely going on my display over there on Desire Driver. Yeah, so overall, a really entertaining episode. If I had to score it, I probably would say a strong 8.5 out of 10. I think I liked 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. I think they did a fantastic job with it, and I think they did great with the revelations to the lore. The world building has been really strong in this season, and definitely the last few episodes. I just really enjoy where it's going forward in terms of what this form will mean for Geats. If it'll make him a desire god or like a desire god. Also shows in the preview for next week him talking to some mysterious man in a fox mask, which is weird because then there's set photos of him wearing that same outfit with that goofy fox mask on. So I'm of two minds of this. Either my first half of my brain is like, oh, that's just a future iteration of Geats coming back to make sure he's following the right path. Or it's, instead of that, it's his dad somehow. I don't know how they would work that out. I mean, whatever, it's Tokusatsu, it's Rider. I mean, death is meaningless. But I think it might be his dad. I don't know. But overall, a really good episode. I think a lot of really good revelations, and I think we're for a pretty entertaining home stretch here to the final, episodes up to episode 50. I do know that stuff leaked for the for Tycoon's final form, which is Shogun form. And we're in the era now where people are literally artistically putting together the pieces and then drawing out and coloring in a little bit what the upgrades are going to look like and everything. Because before we would just get descriptions, you just had to come up with it in your brain. But now they're actually getting the drawings together of what these things are supposedly looking like, and it looks pretty cool. So I might get his. I don't really care a whole lot about Michinaga's stuff just because I do like him as a character. I just don't want to really collect his stuff necessarily myself. I think I resonate much more with Ace and Kawa. But yeah, so I'll probably end up getting the Shogun buckle depending on how it works and how much it is and whatever. But he's supposed to get one. Buffa's supposed to get some Buffa Mao form. And then I believe this fantasy buckle is supposed to be, it comes with some kind of a gold Nago ID core, and that's how she gets back into it somehow. I don't know how that works. But yeah, so overall it was a really good episode. Really, really enjoyed it. Definitely looking forward to next week. As far as content this week, this review and hopefully my King Oger review for this week as well. On the podcast this week, instead of this as recording on Friday, on Saturday we'll be recording and we'll have our guest Mint Bari on, who's another Toku tuber, Power Rangers tuber, stuff like that. Talking about, their work and videos and music and things like that. And then also our second topic will be our favorite gimmick items, which mine is pretty much going to most likely be raise buckles, just because I really fucking like these things. They're like fucking fidget toys. But yeah, so definitely stay tuned for that, for content. And as soon as Geats 9 buckle gets here and I can fanoodle around with it a little bit and film a review, I will. So check that out for Toku Toy Views. But until next time, thank you so much for subscribing, for commenting, watching, liking, all that really good stuff. But as always, stay hooked on heroes. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.